Should Luka Doncic Prizm Silvers be worth 14 times as much as Nikola Jokic's silvers? I've got these astounding numbers and more today in Data Dive. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Data Dive powered by Market Movers. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, and this week, with a nudge and some help from a friend, I'm getting started on a multi-part series over the next few weeks, sharing some basic comparisons with some brain-stretching considerations. So a big shout out to Russ Westbrook Cards, Russ_Westbrook_cards on Instagram. Big Russell Westbrook collector. He's a data analyst by trade, and he's one of the guys I can count on to send me a lot of thought-provoking comparisons on a variety of sports card prices. And he not only inspired this series, but also helped me identify many of these comparisons. So this week, I'm taking a look at how Luka Doncic's price compared to other MVP caliber players in the NBA. And then next week, I'll be making a comparison of Prizm card prices specifically to other products like Optic and Select, maybe some others as well. From there, we'll have to see where the data leads us. So as always, this video is brought to you by Market Movers. Visit marketmoversapp.com and use promo code DIVE for your first 7 days free. Now let's get into the data. All right, so the first thing I want to point out here, I said I'm going to be talking about MVP caliber players and looking at those players. And right now, as of today, Nikola Jokic is the favorite. He's minus 115 Vegas odds to win the MVP award. Next up is Joel Embiid at plus 300. You've got Giannis at plus 600 to 700. Luka down at plus 800 to plus 700 range. Jason Tatum. After that, Ja Morant, LeBron, Durant, Curry, Lillard, Mitchell. Down here, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Zion. In spite of the awesome season that Shai is having, we've got him all the way down here at plus 21,000 odds to win the MVP. So let's jump over, and I want to compare Luka Doncic prices to these other players and see if it makes sense to you. So first chart here that I've done, I've pulled up cards in a similar price range, right? Let's say in the $3,000 to $3,500 range, $3,100 to $3,500 range. Sometimes it can be tough to find cards of exact same price range, but these are pretty close. So I've got Luka's rookie Prizm signatures. It's a sticker auto, PSA 10 sticker auto. Prizm not known for its autos specifically, more about the rainbow chasing and the golds, the blacks, the nebulas, and all of those, the silvers obviously. So this is the sticker auto, the Lulu sticker auto. It is pop $199 on the PSA 10. And this card last sold on February 5th for $3,150, so 3.15K here. Next up is Joker's Orange to 65 in a PSA 9 at 3.5K. Average price, actually recently having sold, yes, for right here, 3.5K on February 4th. Next up is Tatum. We've got his Cornerstones. These are rookie cards, by the way. We've got his 2017 Cornerstones. Super short print case hit of Downtown. And this one's at last sale of $3,320 back on January 23rd. We've got Joel Embiid at 3.1K. This was back in December. A little bit tricky to find a card of Embiid that sold in this price range. So it was a little, a couple months ago. But this is a BGS 10 black label, of which there are only 2 of his Prizm variation. These are the kind of refractor silver variations, technically just called the photo variation. All of them are the refractor silvers. And then you've got the fan favorite Galactic, also the case hit out of 2015 Revolution, Devin Booker here. And this card sold for $3,200 back at the end of December. So looking at these cards and looking at all of these players, in terms of the caliber of the card, take the player off of the card and the caliber of the card, the last one that I would choose is the Luka rookie signatures. Again, I don't think Prizm is known for its autos, that, like I said, they're sticker autos. Each of these to me is a much better option, and they're also all much, much lower population count on the specific cards, as well as the broader set of rookie cards available for these players, meaning Nikola Jokic has far fewer total rookie cards than Luka Doncic does. Jason Tatum has far fewer, Embiid has way fewer, and Booker has way fewer than Luka. And yet in this case, yeah, it's a PSA 10. So is this one. So is this one. This is a black label. They're all going for the same price range. What we see here is that Luka, who is fantastic, who is phenomenal, who has not won a single thing yet. He hasn't won an MVP award. He hasn't won an NBA championship. He won, I guess, Rookie of the Year, right? And he's leading the league in super gaudy statistics this year. We'll see what happens when Kyrie Irving gets there. and how that might impact Luka's overall stat lines. But this honestly doesn't make a lot of sense to me. These are other world caliber players. Now, before I shift to some other comparisons, what do I think is going on here? A couple of things. One, people got back into cards back in 2018, 19, 20. Many people in 2019, when 2018 products were still relatively affordable and Luka Mania was just beginning. A lot of people made a lot of money on Luka Doncic cards, and I think there's something very sentimental for many of us, myself included, about that 2018 draft class and that year of products. It's a really good year of Prizm. It's a great year of Optic. It's a great year of Select and many other products as well. So a lot of people are fond of those years. The other thing that I think is going on is a lot of people just think that Luka, of this entire crop of players, along with maybe Giannis, is the face of this generation, is the one that has the highest upside, is the one that they see doing it year over year over year over year. And what we know from history is that there can only be one or maybe two players, I've talked about this in the past, who really emerge and tend to hold a much more significant price premium over all the other players. Go back to the 90s. Jordan, Kobe, everybody else is way down here. All the other All-Stars, Shaq, Iverson, Vince Carter, Anthony Hardaway, Grant Hill, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, the list goes on and on and on. All the superstars of that era, Tim Duncan, their prices are way, way, way cheaper and way below Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And the same thing happens as you get into the LeBron era. You've got LeBron, you've got Steph, and then you've got everybody else, including KD, whose prices have fallen a lot. So there tends to be those one or two guys. So if Luka's the guy, long term, his prices could see a significant, even more significant premium over all of these guys if he ends up being the guy of this generation. But what about if he doesn't? Where do his prices stand to go? And there's still a long way to go. And there's still a lot of other very, very talented players. Frankly, more now than there were back in the 90s and for sure in the 2000s, when I think that was kind of even a shorter era. The superstars were very clear, and then there were a bunch of kind of pretty good guys, but it was really clear who was the best. Now, I've covered it in past episodes. You can see tons of players putting up 30 plus points a game, 10 assists or 10 rebounds or both. Luka's not the only one doing it. It's going to be really hard for him to create separation between these other players over time. So the next chart I want to look at here, some other players of a similar ilk, let's say, and I switched down into the $2,000 range. I'm looking at Luka's Prizm Silver PSA 10, which we're going to use as a comparison point on several of these charts. And I'm looking at Zion's 2019 rookie Panini 1-and-1. I believe that was the first year for sure of Panini 1-and-1. And this is his downtown, so we've seen that in other products, but they put that into 1-and-1, very short printed in a PSA 9, same price as Luka's Prizm Silver, much, much more short printed. Luka at pop 2162 on his PSA 10 Prizm Silver. SGA, $2,000 card for his green Pulsar to 25 in a BGS 9.5. How much do you think Luka's green Pulsar to 25 would cost you? A lot more than $2,000, a lot more than $10,000, I would say. You've got Ja. This is the purple snakeskin mosaic to 24. Not obviously the most popular set, but still a serial number, Ja numbered to 24. Also very low population in a PSA 9, a little under $2,000. And then Giannis in his Prizm red, white, and blue mosaic parallel, pop 74 in a PSA 10, $2,100. So similar price range on all these cards. You've got the Giannis, which is way more significantly short printed than the Luka at the same exact price comparison point. Again, Giannis has won 2 MVPs. He's had an MVP runner-up. He's finished in the top 3 other years. He's won an NBA championship. He's won Defensive Player of the Year. He won an NBA title MVP. I think he's won an All-Star MVP. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But he's got all the accolades. Luka, again, does not. And here's this price point. I know the red, white, and blue mosaic isn't the most popular, but again, Giannis only had like 10 different Prizm parallels from his rookie year, maybe not even that many. And it's way, the same price as the Prizm Silver. Again, really confusing to me. Let's jump over and take a look now. And I'm looking at a different chart. This is all the some notable Prizm Silvers. I didn't include Giannis on here because he's, way more short printed, and that is a card that comes with a significant premium. But I've got Zion here, I've got Luka, I've got SGA, I've got Jason Tatum, Jokic, and John Morant. And you look at this and you go, well, hey, there's Jokic, right? He's at $2,400, whereas Luka's at $2,000. Yeah, but look at the pop count, 136 versus 2162. And in the little intro, this is what I showed you. How about if we switch to look at market cap? What are we doing with market cap? We're multiplying the price point of the card in a PSA 10 times the total pop count, just to get an idea of how much theoretical money is in circulation for these cards. And Luka's at $4.4 million. John Morant and Zion at 1.5 and 1.4 respectively. And then down here we've got Joker, who's right now favored to win his third consecutive MVP at $330,000. So 14, 15 times lower than the market cap of Luka. Again, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially when you consider how much total money is in circulation in theory for Luka's cards, where he has, I don't know, probably 10 times more rookie cards than Nikola Jokic does, just over those few years from 2015 to 2018. So if I'm looking at these cards and I'm thinking about upside versus downside on the long-term horizon, if you're buying Luka cards, if you're holding Luka cards, you're literally making a bet that Luka is definitively going to be the guy of this era. Right now, Jokic is about to win his third MVP. We talked about it on Cards on the Table on Thursday. There's the question about the popularity of big men, of centers, of Jokic. In spite of all of his accolades, who knows what will happen with his prices long term? And we look at guys like Tim Duncan, who obviously won all the awards, considered a pretty much consensus top 10 player of all time, greatest power forward of all time, and his price is still very much a fraction of Kobe Bryant's and Michael Jordan's. So you never know. It could be that Luka gets through here, wins maybe 2 championships, maybe 3 championships, a couple of MVPs, doesn't end up having the total career resume of some of these other guys in terms of pure numbers and championships and awards, but maybe the market still likes him better for one reason or another. And I'm a big Luka fan. He's probably my second favorite player in the NBA right now in terms of watching him behind Giannis and rooting. So I'm rooting for the guy, but some of these numbers are really, really astounding and confusing. What if we just look at Luka's cards relative to one another? This is always a fun comparison just to kind of see, and I'm gonna, like I said, get into this more next week. But since we're talking about Luka, these are cards that are all kind of in the same price range, and looking at the Prizm Silver relative to the others to try to say, okay, how much sense does that price make? I know this is a very flagship card. It's kind of like his Topps Chrome Refractor. This is his flagship refractor card, rookie card. It's a beautiful card. There's other cards here that are in the similar price range with much lower pop counts. Pop 94 on this 2016 Upper Deck EuroLeague Rainbow Foil. Personally, not a card that I'm super high on. It's an Upper Deck basketball card. It's more like an XRC. It's from a couple years prior. I wouldn't put money into this. I wouldn't have any interest in collecting this card personally at all. So that's why I wouldn't buy it as a speculation or investment of any kind. This Kaboom, there's been several years of Kabooms. I really like the Kabooms. This is one among many years of Kabooms, but it is very low population in a PSA 10, Pop 31. Really hard to get PSA 10s on the Kabooms, a little bit thicker card stock. We've got back to this rookie signatures in an SGC 9.5, and in this case, I would actually take the Prizm Silver in spite of it being a much higher pop count than this card overall. Again, I'm not a fan of the armpit hair and the sticker auto and the Lulu, which is controversial. Give me the other card in the Prizm Silver. The Pink Velocity, numbered to 79, Optic BGS 9.5. I ran a poll on Instagram asking, independent of price and public opinion and what you think others think of the sets, what do you like better, Optic or Prizm? And about 75% of people said Optic over Prizm. And there was quite a few respondents to that poll on Instagram. So you've got a Pink Velocity numbered to 79. There's only 79 of these in existence total, obviously. And in these higher grades, even lower. And here's the Pop 2162 and a PSA 10 Silver, not numbered, going for the same exact price, roughly. I'd take the Pink Velocity, short printed, borderline super short printed Luka Optic over the Prizm Silver. And then finally, another one that I personally wouldn't really be touching. He's not in his Mavs jersey. He's got this sort of generic international jersey on, another sticker auto, similar price range. So this is food for thought, right? Looking at all of these cards, you're saying, I've got $2,000 burning a hole in my pocket for Luka cards. Which one are you putting it into? For me, the no-brainer is here. And it's on this Pink Velocity. Probably next on the list for me would be the Kaboom. Third would be the Prizm Silver. There might even be better choices at lower price points where you get into a Pink Ice or something like that, and you can get 2 cards in the $1,000 range. Last comparison, and this is for Russell Westbrook cards, Russell Westbrook collector. I'm comparing Luka to Westbrook. If you look at their stats, and who do Luka's stats compare to more than anyone else? Not necessarily his game and how he plays the game, but just his stat lines. The closest comparison is probably Westbrook because he's almost averaging a triple-double machine just like Westbrook. And look at these price differences. So I've got Westbrook's X Fractor. Now, back in 2008, Topps Chrome, not a lot of parallels. You had the refractor, you had the orange refractor, you had the X Fractor, a couple others, I think maybe the gold, the red, and the superfractor. And I think that's about it, okay? So there's not a lot of parallels, not a lot of print runs. Number to 288 on the X Fractor and a PSA 10. Number to 50 on the gold, which people love, especially the 2008 golds. They love it. And a BGS 9. These cards selling for 1.3K and 1.6K. And this is a guy with a really, really impressive, very impressive resume in spite of the last few years where he's clearly toward the end of his career. Luka, a PSA 10, numbered to 50. Now I know this is a PSA 10 versus a BGS 9, but taking into account the grade multiplier and it being Luka and it being Prizm, he's at 10.5K on this card versus 1,500 for a gold Russ numbered to 50. And I know, again, BGS 9 versus PSA 10, but what about this purple Pulsar numbered to 35 in a BGS 9? He's still 3X Russ, and that doesn't take into consideration that you've got the other purple, you've got the Mojo to 25, you've got the white sparkles, you've got the coppers, you've bronze, whatever. You've got all these different ones kind of surrounding these different parallels, whereas Russ doesn't have those to sort of dilute his market more. And then the last one here is just a PSA 10 fast break red, numbered to 125 in a PSA 10, still selling for twice as much as the gold and pushing 3 times as much, 2.5 times as much the X Fractor to 288. So again, if I'm looking at this, it's a different era. I think there's a lot of people who have come into the hobby now who will always have an affinity toward Luka cards no matter what happens. There's also a lot of people with money into him that might kind of artificially inflate the overall market for a long time. But if he has like a catastrophic injury or does anything, just gets worse about complaining about calls on the court, other things like that, the downside is potentially tremendous on a guy like Luka. So this is all very interesting data to me. I'm not saying one way or the other, honestly. I'm not saying don't buy Luka. I'm not saying go sell your Lukas. I'm just painting the picture of what could potentially happen and showing you the comparison points and then asking you, what do you think? Is Luka a smart investment? Do his prices make sense relative to the others that we looked at today? Does he have the most upside of all the MVP favorites from this season? Or is it someone else? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read it. And if you want to get this data, visit marketmoversapp.com, use promo code DIVE to get the first 7 days free. Thanks so much as always for watching. Until next time, happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.